And we're live.
Welcome to Finally Naked, and I'm Tressa, one of the hosts.
Hi, my name is Bianca Thompson. I'm a co-host.
Hi, my name is Nikki, aka the Coochie Coach, and I am also a host, co-host.
And our guest,
Hey everyone, I am Sasha Mabel Jones and I'm the guest for today.
so today we're going to be talking about postpartum and sensuality with Tasha. Welcome, Tasha. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you
So
so much.
you're welcome. Take it away.
All right, y'all. So my postpartum journey is very interactive, I will say. Tressa, Tressa wants to hear about. I'm going to segue into how I met my husband because my postpartum journey really does include like my union with my husband. But I want to start from the beginning very briefly. So I had my first son in 2017, and I shared a little bit about this yesterday when we were talking about it, domestic violence. But um, it was a lot of things that happened, and I was a little younger. I was what 28, 28, 27, 28, and just get into that going into that initiation of motherhood, and that's something that I really want to talk about um a little bit more today, because my initiations into various aspects of my womanhood really coincide with my initiations into postpartum, like the different levels of postpartum. So, having my first child, I was a vegan, vegetarian. My body was where I wanted it to be. I was dancing, I was doing all of this stuff before conceiving him. I was, traveling, I was staying here, staying there, like doing all of this stuff. And, the initial postpartum experience after having him, it was a shock, honestly. I'm not going to lie, because my body did things differently. And, as a woman, your mothers and your grandmothers don't really tell you like the real about you know what I'm saying, like what happens postpartum, I guess, in a more realistic way. I was always told, oh, girl, just put him on a titty, you'll lose the weight, don't worry about it. I was always told little stuff like that. Oh, don't hold him, don't do this, all of that. And after I had him, it was different. I lost 15 pounds.
Mm,
um I was looking at my stomach and I was looking at everything that had changed, and I felt real different. It felt really different. And, just breastfeeding was different from me, because that was something that I hadn't done ever, of course. And it was like I had to give myself more attention to my breast. I had to be a lot more present with my breast, which I think was a really big thing. And I just, it was an adjustment. It was an adjustment. But looking back, I look back at my pictures because I'm in a different part of my postpartum journey now. I've had two more kids after that. I just had baby girl 9 months ago, and I don't, I'm in a process of grieving that aspect of me.
mhm,
Looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, my body wasn't that bad. Like I actually recovered pretty well. I had people giving me compliments. I actually did a photo shoot at 3 months postpartum. I had a friend of mine, she made clothes, she made my underwear and my panties. Like, I got plenty of those pictures on Facebook. And then I did another photo shoot at 6 months postpartum. And
mhm,
I have like 10 years of experience being a model. So that was something that really helped me to feel in my body, talking about sensuality. That really helped me get back into my body, to actually see my body and see my body beautified after having, that soon after having a child. So that was something that really helped me back then. But again, it was still different. It was still very, very different. I had the what they call it, the fupa, the lower belly pooch. My abs didn't sit. I'm a crop top girl. Like, I'm crop top all day. That's how I roll, right? So to see that area shift for me was big. I've also been a belly dancer, so that a lot of attention went to that area. but I had to really shift how my perspective of how that area looked after having a child. And so I stayed active. I walked. I did a whole lot. I stopped breastfeeding at 7 months. I actually pumped. I didn't nursing didn't go really well for me, so I pumped. And then like after I finished nursing, started seeing my body come back. I was taking care of myself. I was detoxing. I was like doing all of these different things. Fast forward to, I would say, the end of 2019 going into 2020, I was already back how I wanted to feel. Again, things were not exactly the same, but I was confident. I was doing my rituals. And I meant to say I am a sensuality coach, so I live what I teach. And so as I'm going through this, I'm sharing my journey. I'm like, this is what's happening. I'm healing my womb. I'm becoming an energetic womb wellness coach, like all of those things. So I get to 2019 and I moved and I started seeing my body shift again. And it was shifting in a way that I really didn't I wasn't prepared for, because what I didn't fully I was told this, but I didn't fully get it. It takes several years for your body to recover from having a baby, and there's different stages to that. And so that took a huge awareness of body presence. Because when I talk about sensuality, I really try to keep it simple. Like, it's about being present in your body and with all of your senses. And when you're having children, your senses automatically are going to be, you know, enhanced. So, the way you smell, which you taste, how, things feel against your skin, especially your nipples, like all of that stuff, how your hips feel, how your belly jiggles a little bit or how it doesn't, like all of those things change. And so I had to get even more present with that.
Mhm.
So 2019, 2020, I was probably like 3 to 4 years into postpartum after my first son. And I got back with my ex, and I talked about all of this in the domestic violence talk we had yesterday. So that experience threw my body into a whole different you know space, and I didn't realize it until I actually got out of it and met my husband. um I moved here where I'm at now, where I met my husband in Salisbury, Maryland. And I started like gaining weight in my stomach all over again. I started just gaining weight. It didn't matter what I did. I did all my usual things and nothing was working. And I was like, well, I'm out of my situation. I went to court. I did this, I did that. Why is my body not responding to me? That was another level that I went through. And at that point, my son, my oldest, was 2.5 years old. And so, I had moments where I was crying. I was like, I don't understand what's happening to my body. And I bring that up because trauma was happening to my body. And what I didn't realize is that it's not going to happen right away. Your body is not going to show it right away. For me, it
Mhm.
showed it as soon as I got myself out of a situation, and it could really be in a place of rest. And I know, Tressa, I'm gonna get into how I met my husband, but when I met him, he still is very nurturing. And so he would give me hugs. Like, there were times, we still talk about this, and this still happens. I would lay on him and just I was out drooling, everything. I would sleep so deeply next to him, and I hadn't been able to do so. Yeah, girl. Prior, prior to him, prior to all of that, especially after everything I went through. And as soon as I experienced that rest, it was like my body was like, oh, okay, we can stop holding on to stuff. Boom, so that's when I
Ooh.
started noticing all of those things. And so, and I took pictures and all of that. And my husband was like, I like you thick. I like it. Da, da, da. And I'm sitting here like, but you don't know the form of me. You don't know the pre me, right? You know how we go through that, right? So, and I will bring this up. What was also happening to my body is it was preparing for the children that y'all hear now. And that is more so a spiritual, energetic thing. So, when I was going through my previous situation and I knew it was about to end, I made a I made a womb vow. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. I
It's
made
yeah.
a womb vow with my womb, and I said, I'm getting myself out of this situation. I'm freeing me and my son. I am not conceiving any more children until I meet my husband. There has to be a ring on my finger. And so that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And like I started feeling that little girl y'all here and my little guy that's still asleep. I started feeling them months before I met my husband while in transit out
Mm.
of a domestic violence situation. And that was also why my stomach was expanding, because it was preparing for the child that is tightened that was coming. And I didn't fully, again, I wasn't fully aware of it at that time, but when I got the time, when I, how, like I said, it happens after the fact. When I realized what was happening, I was like, okay. But it was almost like I was holding two different aspects of myself and my body at the same time. And to be honest, I still feel like that, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So, met my husband, I trust us talk about the graveyard. So I'm gonna address that. So, after I got myself out of the domestic violence situation, I was taking more walks because I was in a new area with my son. I was like, you know what? I'm in a new place. It's springtime, and I'm gonna set some new intentions. And I felt newness coming to me, but I was like, nah. I just got out of something. Like I gotta. I'm just gonna focus on me. I just want to be present with what's happening. It was during the pandemic, and everybody was in the house. They didn't realize they could actually take a walk. So I was enjoying being outside with the flowers and the bees and the water and all of that. And that really helped me come back to myself as well. So on top of like everything I spoke on, just getting out in nature was really refreshing to me. I danced, I was doing hula hoop, and I got into hula hooping, which was really fun for me. And it helped, keep me moving. And so I went for a walk one day and I just kind of went in a trance. Like I was present with my son while we were walking, but I just was like, you know what? I don't know why I'm feeling this, but I'm gonna go with it. Next person I meet is gonna be my husband. He's gonna be da 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 da. We're gonna have da da da. I just kept going, right? And I even said, you know what? He may not live here because I didn't feel he was here yet, like in my physical area. I said maybe he's in DC, not knowing that he was actually in DC. He was on his way back home because he's from here. And so I let it go. I was like, all right, I'm by the water, I'm by the river where I like to be. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna keep walking. And it went about my day. And then, like I said, I did a honey jar, and I did go to the I did go to the graveyard a couple times, mainly to release the past. I did,
Great idea.
yeah, I did like burning rituals, burning bowl rituals. I did offerings. I did all of that. And it was very peaceful to me actually. Walking me and my son, he's a Scorpio. He loved that. So, we loved it. And then like I said, I let it go. I was like, all right, I'm gonna focus on where I'm at now. I'm here with my son. We're in a new space. And they're playing. And I'm going to enjoy this. I don't know what's coming, but I know I like this peace that I feel in my mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to keep loving on my body, where I was at that point. And like I said, a month later, I called a Lyft because I was trying to, do my taxes. And it was my husband. It was my husband. And again, I had said, I don't know how this dude gonna get to me. I don't know how my husband gonna get to me. It's country out here. I'm a city girl. I'm from Baltimore. I was like, it's country out here. I don't know how people gonna find me. I'm in the cut. But he did, and so like I said, after that, I've started, I still was dealing with trauma after meeting him. Things still were healing after I met him. And so we got engaged later on that year on my birthday, and we got married April of 2021. And so my body was still doing these weird things, and I started feeling pregnant, like way before I got pregnant. And I was like, uh-oh. And
Mm-hmm.
so my body was being present with that. It was a very interesting experience. So we got to the week of our wedding, and we didn't know that we had conceived Titan until like 3 weeks after we got married. And so that pregnancy, for the most part, it was good. And then I lost my dad, my grandfather, and my
Mm.
aunt at the very end of my pregnancy, literally like a month before. And literally the night I went into birth, as I was birthing, I was losing family members. And
Mm.
that was traumatic for me. And so I say all that to say, it instantly hit my body. Like they were trying to induce me because I was showing signs of preeclampsia. And my son wound up being overdue. He was supposed to be due January 20th. He didn't come until 5 days later, which is, not that late. But for them, they were like, oh, we have to get him out of there. And I was like, no, he's good. He's experiencing what we just went through death. Okay. So give us a minute. And it was like my body just retained everything, retained fluid. I when I birthed him, I had a hard time letting go because I was like, man, I just as when you're going through pregnancy and birth, it feels like a death sometimes. And so I really felt that deeply. So my postpartum experience with my second son was different. But I was a little older. I'm just turned 35, so I've always heard, oh, once you get past 30, your metabolism change. And I've always been like, not me. I'm good. I'm fit. I'm healthy. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, not me. And I think there's some truth to it, but and you can change your lifestyle, but I still experienced that. And I believe it was accelerated because of what I experienced in between those times. And so my body did not do the things that it did the first time.
Oh, wow.
I did not lose any weight. I was not able to breastfeed him longer than 3 months. And my body actually postpartum went through a blood sugar issue that I didn't know I had until I got pregnant with our baby girl Tan that fall. And that changed things. I had a hard time connecting with my body after having Titan because I had gained most of my weight towards the end of the pregnancy. I had aches and pains here and there that I wasn't used to. It was the most weight that I had never retained that amount of weight, nor have I had been that size ever in my life. And so it really threw me. I'm not gonna lie, it really affected me. And I want to go back to what I mentioned about the different stages of womanhood. So when I had my son, I felt more like a maiden. I think y'all are all familiar with like the maiden,
Yes.
the mother, and the crone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize at the time that I was transitioning into mother, like true mother. And it was weird because I'm like, well, I'm already a mom. I already had a child. So what is this? Um, and so he's tickling her. Hold on 1 second, y'all.
Hey, Tressa, while she's doing that, can someone address maybe um, uh, what she's talking about, the triple goddess energy? Because everybody may not know what that is. Everyone that's listening, so that those three stages that you kind of go through sometimes as a woman.
Yeah, I'm
Did
gonna
you
let
want to
her.
address that, Tasha?
Well, I'm gonna right, because I even want to address with the part about the death when she spoke up for herself. It didn't let them have it right away.
Right.
Like didn't let them induce her right away. I mean, I can, but I'm gonna let her. Tasha, you
Yeah,
back?
I'm here.
Okay.
Where'd you want
Okay.
me to leave off
Well,
at? I'm
some
sorry.
people,
So
some
yeah,
of
go
the
ahead.
viewers may not understand that triple goddess energy and how we go through stages in our lives. So, can you just kind of touch on that a little bit, like the three different stages, like those three energies? Because there may be some people like, "What are you talking about? The crow, the maiden,
You talking about
what?"
me or
Yeah,
Tressa?
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
either
sure.
one. Yeah,
So I'm gonna
just
try to put it in the
just
simplest way.
briefly, like if you could break it
Yeah,
down, like Denzel said, break it down to me like I'm a 3-year-old.
sure. So the different those different aspects of the garden. Okay, it's fine. It's in a water bottle. Sorry, y'all.
That's
The
okay.
different aspects of womanhood. Maiden is like that young, fresh energy. It's usually before you have children. I would liken it to the imagery that you see nowadays, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, like those that are in their 20s, like that fresh, I'm all about me, beautified, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Mother energy is like, I know she's used as an example list a lot, but Beyonce. Oh, sorry. Sorry, y'all. I would say Beyonce because where she's at in her motherhood. Yes, she's had children, but the energy's different. The way that she comes off is different. She's more into her family, even though she's, doing tours and stuff like that. But you can tell that it's very much about her family and her children right now. Crone, I'm just giving examples. Crone would be like an elder woman, doesn't have to be like a super, super old woman, but a woman who has a lot of wisdom, that can pour into the younger women, like the maiden and the mother. I think I liken that to like a grandmother. I'm trying to think of like an example
I think
that
of
Can I
Queen
Sorry,
jump
let me
in?
Rashad.
So, yeah,
oh,
go
Queen
ahead. You
Rashad.
can,
I
no,
was
you
gonna
can go ahead and then I'll go
interject.
ahead. You can go ahead, Nikki.
okay.
So I was gonna say, versus what I'm hearing, because again, like Bianca said, this is like not for us, right? This is for who's listening. So it's more of an energy, not a physical
Yeah.
age, right? Because you could technically display those energies at any juncture in your life, right? So
Yeah.
this whole idea of finding your freedom, your sexual freedom, you understanding your pussy power, all of that for a Megan the Stallion, a Cardi B, that could happen for women after children
That's
leave the home, right? Like there's this, freedom that you get to experience when you're an empty nester that wasn't there maybe before because you were being very maternal and very motherly and managing things at home. So I just wanted to make that clarification that it's not just an age, but it's an energetic force that one experiences and can feel and express it.
oh, for
So
sure,
yeah.
for sure, yeah. And
Yeah, and I want
go
to, I'm
ahead.
sorry, just really quick, and I want to also say, yeah, it's a combination of both because sometimes when they explain it, it's explained like you explain it, but it's also energetic. And I was thinking about when you talked about energetic, was like it is kind of like the maiden. It's like things are kind of fresh in my mind when I see it. They're fresh. You kind of blue a little bit. When I say blue, you might not know a whole lot or whatever. You just kind of find yourself. But when you get into the mother stage, you're more nurturing, and so, not necessarily having children. There's mothers that nurture and do all those things, or women that nurture, they don't have any children. But it's a more nurturing stage where you're able to nurture yourself and nurture other things. And then when you get to the crown stage, that's where all the wisdom start kicking in. And again, it's not necessarily by age. We have 80-year-olds or 60-year-olds, and they act like they're 20. So, or and then we have some younger women that act more mature. So I guess it also depends on what level you're looking at it from. From what, how they say you're standing around the mountain, we're all looking up at the sky, but depending on where you are, you see something different. So I guess it kind of depends on where you're standing and what you're talking about is how you would describe it. But what Nikki said is really, it's true, and what you said is true. It's like all this, it's not cut and dry, it's not a straight line. But I think hopefully that will give the viewers something to think about, because we don't, we give them a perspective that gives them a lot of perspectives and they find where they fit in. Um, Before you go on, and thanks Bianca for jumping in, because I think this is good. I think if we can just kind of like get some of the questions going while we're there, while she's in that space, it'll help others so we don't have to try to remember where to come back. You said
Tressa,
something that
can I?
really helped me. Go ahead, Nikki.
I just wanted to say this part really quickly for all of us. We don't need to apologize for being women, mothers, any, communicating. I noticed that we all use sorry and a lot. And I just want to remind us that we don't need to ever apologize for our existence, for the existence of our babies, for any of it. So go
Right.
ahead.
Thank you, Nikki, because I want her to feel comfortable. Like, we have children, and if we didn't have children, it's okay. Like, having you on here and having your children, it's a blessing. It's okay that they're in the back. It's okay that they're making noise. It's okay. As long as we can hear, it's okay. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. You don't have to apologize. That's good. You don't have to feel like this is not a safe space for you. Children welcome. I mean, to a degree. You know what I'm saying? This is a grown folks conversation, but however, they're so young. It's okay. What I wanted to say, and then I want you to finish, is that you talked about, well, there's a couple things before you finish, Tasha. One, you talked about you wouldn't let the doctor induce you. You was like, it's okay. And I admire that about you. You stood up and said, I know my body enough that I know the babies are grieving because the babies can feel what I feel. He's just not ready. So, man, I mean, I already respect you, but I mean, that's just like, whoop, that's just like another level of respect, because how many women do not speak up and talk? And so, if you even connect that with sensuality and tapping into our senses, how many women are we really connected enough with our senses to even know what our body is feeling? To know, like you talked about your children, you knew that your body, and you could feel them coming long before they got here. Now, in some women, it's different. Like, I want to just interject this real quick, and then I want to pass the mic. But you could feel it in your body, and even in the feeling, we could feel it different, or tapping into our senses. For my oldest son, I heard it. Like, I mean, it was just intuitive. Like, when I got, I hate to say it, but this was like, my son is 44, so like maybe 45 years ago. When I got off that floor, I ain't gonna say anything else. When I got off that floor, I knew I was pregnant. A year later, he came, but I knew it. It was like I just knew. And I don't know how to tell you I knew, but I could feel it without, just kind of like that sense of knowing. And so a year later, or 9 months later, here he comes. So yeah, knowing your body and being in contact with your body, and that's another thing you talked about a lot, about really being in connection with your body. So thanks for sharing all the things you're sharing. So you could keep going. We just want to kind of interject so that if we ask, we don't have to kind of jump back. It'll give us a chance to. And if the audience has any questions, um, you will feel welcome to ask. Go ahead, Tasha.
Okay, thank y'all for that.
Yeah.
I was getting to that. I didn't want
Okay.
to, just to clarify, I didn't want it to be just about the age. I just wanted to give
Okay.
like a quick example. Yes, I'm and segueing into that, where I'm at now in my postpartum journey, I've had to realize that I had, after having my first son and the transition into having my second son, I still had some of that maiden energy as a mother. So like um that what I was talking about is very true. And it can, it's not cut and dry. That is definitely I think that's what I learned. I was like, it's definitely not cut and dry. And I actually think I stepped more into that knowing after I had my second son. And so yeah. Where did I leave off?
So you
Talking about
left off. Yeah, you was talking about your second son, and I think, well, you kind of talked about your husband picking you up, and then um I was trying to remember because Bianca was asking about that. So let's just start back where your husband
that's
picked you
fine.
up.
Oh yeah, so yeah, he picked me up and that's how we
Y'all got
met.
married.
And we got married. And the energy of our son was already, it was already brewing before, like as we got closer and closer to get married. And then he was he was already in my womb when we were walking down the aisle. And beautiful experience. Like I said, I went through a lot towards the end of the pregnancy, like you were mentioning, the induction, like really feeling into, I'm okay. I don't need to be induced. I don't need to do all of that. I also had a friend who was my doula that is also a nurse. I wanted to mention that was also helping me to be present, because my blood pressure was, there's a lot of different things that were happening. So getting and more into like my postpartum after him, and like, because technically, I'm still I feel like I'm double postpartum, because we conceived Tan while being postpartum, 8 months postpartum with Titan. And so that has been, I would say, has been a challenge, because it has evolved me out of what I knew, sensuality wise, into this different space. And going back to the triple goddess energy, I feel more like I'm in my mother energy now than I was, before having our two littles, before, when it was just me and my oldest. And that has been interesting. That has been interesting. My body responds differently. Um I wound up getting gestational diabetes with Tan. And that experience, I had to be present with my food. And that's something that I teached on a while ago, but it's like everything just up the ante this time. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna really have to like lived this from a different perspective, a higher perspective, because nothing has felt the same. Like prior to my two littles, it really has, like, I feel like I jumped into like that deeper mother energy. And I won't lie, it has been challenging because again, like I said earlier, still grieving who I was and how I was before all the changes that have happened. When my body used to be like, oh, we good with the weight, we can do this, we can do that. I had some sciatica issues that popped up. I had a lot of basically stuff in my lower half that popped up. Like, I'm a walker, I love to walk, and that prevented me from walking long distances because y'all may be familiar with it, but the muscles and in your butt and your leg and your hip, all of that is connected. The sciatic nerve is covered by certain muscles, so and those muscles are connected to the pelvic floor, which that was another journey that I went through that I want to share about, because I think it's really important. I don't think a lot of women know about how important pelvic floor health is postpartum and how it can affect a lot of different things. So I learned a lot between having Titan and Tan. And with Tan, when I found out that, they check your blood and all those things, and they say, your A1C is a little elevated. It was, a little elevated. Like, we're not going to worry about it too much, but let's do a glucose test. And so I wanted to, I don't like the glucose test, but something was like, no, you need to go and take it. So I just went with it. And they were like, yeah, you're going to have to, you got gestational diabetes. Your levels are, they were like on the line, but just far enough for them to be like, no, we're going to go ahead and diagnose you. And I had to, like I was saying, I had to be present, not only with my body, but what I ate, and how my body absorbed what I was eating and how it digested what I was eating. And so I went through, I had to prick my finger 3 times a day for like 6 months, pretty much for the rest of the pregnancy. They wanted to put, another thing where I was like, I ain't doing that. They wanted to put me, they pretty much told me, oh, when you get to a certain point in your pregnancy, you're gonna probably have to go on insulin. And I was like, no. But tell me about the women that didn't had to go on insulin. Tell me about them, because that's what I'm gonna do, and I had to find a way to enjoy my pregnancy and my eating. Because of course I was like, dang, I can't eat nothing. Then I was like, what you mean? What you mean I got blood sugar issues? I've never had that issue. And I think it was underlying and I wasn't aware of it. And I started reading, it was very enlightening for me during the pregnancy. How the blood sugar relates to certain things, all of that. So long story short, I got through the pregnancy, no meds, just lowering my sugar and my carb intake and exercising. And y'all hear how beautiful and and bright she is. So she has no blood sugar issues. I'm still going through my appointments. I'm still in my postpartum journey currently. I didn't gain much weight with her. I lost some of my weight, but I still feel foreign, right? Um I
And did
usually
you
go.
cry? Excuse me. Did you cry a lot?
Yeah,
Did you cry? Did you have the blues? Sometimes when we think about
yeah,
postpartum, did
yeah,
you
I
have
did.
that?
I did, like, the blues that I had with Tan were a little different with Titan. I fell apart emotionally after having Titan because I had lost a bunch of people. With Tan, it was different. I had the baby blues, as they say. But her name means new beginnings. That's what we named her. And so as soon as she was born, it was like so many shifts happened. Like, we're not even in the same place that we brought her home to. We moved, a couple months ago. And so, I still, I was down. I have been, I think I had more depression this time around than I did before. And even saying that, even me saying I have depression, it took me up until like maybe December or January to actually admit that, oh, I have some postpartum depression and it's okay. You know, um, my body, I don't feel as foreign, but I still feel foreign in my body. Like, I'm in my thick era, um, and I'm getting back to myself, and the way that I'm present in my body this time, like I said, is much different than when I first started my motherhood journey. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm still figuring it out.
Okay,
I'm still
okay.
figuring it out. Um, this when we recently moved, I did have a shift though. I told my husband he loves me no matter what I look like, whatever. And I wasn't being really kind to my body mentally. I was like, man, I just come on, abs, come back together. Like, come on, thighs, why you doing this? You know how we do. And, and my boobs, they're the biggest they've ever been. I used to be a BC cut, and every time I have children, they stay. And so I when we had this recent move, you come on, you want to be in the chair? Come in. All right, come on, come on. You got things to say to you? Here she is. When I when we were moving a couple months ago, I had this moment. I was really I was really down because we had to move because it was something that wasn't expected. And I said, you know what? I'm thankful for my body. I need this cushion because this is a big thing. And if I didn't have this, I don't think I would be well off. So you know what? I'm a say thank you to this plushiness that I have right now because I need a soft landing and I need that soft landing to come from me. I need to
Mm,
feel like I can land in myself while I'm going through this, um, so that I can be secure within myself, so I can feel safe within myself, which will allow me to receive that safety, um, out, externally. And so that's where I am. I could add so much more, but I'm a I'm gonna end here. That's where I am. I've having her. She's my first girl. Our first girl. We don't know if it's gonna be another girl. We still we don't know yet. But right now she is our only girl, and the energy, even that the energy of having a girl is different. I think when a couple of months ago I looked at her and I said, you know what? I've been I've been kind of like half made. Well, I would say more so 20% maiden and 80% mother. And when I looked at her one day, I said, okay, I can release that now. I can release that energy, because in a way she is that, she is she is that reflection.
mhm, mhm,
And it's okay for me to release parts of myself and parts of my past that not necessarily don't resonate with me anymore, but I can take that with me and I can allow myself to step into a different part of my womanhood. And so with the way that what I said earlier was, I felt like my body is holding two different aspects of me at the same time. That was a big thing between having her and having her little big brother. I was like, I feel like I'm holding the weight of my former self and myself that's forming now, because I haven't really, okay girl, I haven't really gotten familiar with who this new person is, this new Tasha, where I'm at now. And
mhm.
so I just knew instinctively, I'm like, once I get to a place where I feel more safe within my body, I'm okay with how I look, while also wanting to make healthier choices. I think that's really important as well. It'll help me have a soft landing so that I can take off into who my new version is gonna be. And on that note, I'm gonna stop for now.
So, okay, I'm going to ask the question sexually. You don't have to go into all your business, but with this work, sometimes as women, when we're not comfortable in our body, it makes it hard for us to really be comfortable in our relationships with the men that we're with, even though they're trying to tell us they love us, we're beautiful, we're all this and that, and whatever. Did you find a struggle with that?
The first time I wasn't with anybody, so I was actually extremely touch deprived. My husband, I had the opposite. I had the opposite problem. I was worried how things were going to be in that realm of our relationship. Here, girl, you can have it. You can have it. It's right here. Here, go ahead. Change the channel. Um, I was worried before we had our children, and then like 6 weeks after, I was like, am I good or not? Like I was really
We
that.
couldn't hear you. She changed. Somebody turned it off. What? 6 weeks? What?
Oh, I said, during pregnancy, I was worried about that realm of our relationship, but then 6 weeks after having our children, I mean, that's part of the reason why she's here. I was like, We good? Okay. Like my husband always said, he was like, "You were worried for nothing. Like you're fine." That safety and that security and that love was already there, so it was very easy for me. Actually, it really heightened things between us, which is also why she's here, because we were supposed to plan her out 2 more years. But and I wasn't used to that. Like I said, between having my son and having my second son after marriage, because that love was there and everything just intensified for us.
Okay.
Physically, I will say there was some different things, like my pelvic floor felt different. um Nothing that he ever noticed, but it was more so like, I feel a little different down there. This time I've been breastfeeding much longer. I have been doing it since she was born, and the hormonal changes that go along with that, which I think also contributes to the mood swings. I'm still really honestly adjusting to that, because I didn't go this far ever with my boys. um Dryness, things. It was really just like physical discomforts, but there's solutions to that. I'll just say
Yeah.
that. But like I didn't really have like a crazy dip in like desire. Of course, the first, when you're still recovering, here, when you're first recovering, but I'm very different.
Okay. Okay.
Very
Okay.
different.
That's
Yeah, but
good.
yeah, yep.
So thanks for sharing. My not Maisha. I'm so sorry. The Coochie Coach and Bianca. Any questions? Because this is good. Because one of the things about we talked about postpartum and sensuality. I'm grateful that Tasha has not just focused on the sexual aspect. That she
Hmm.
talked about being present in the body, which is what being sensual is about. Is like connecting to all of our senses in every kind of way.
Hmm.
And I'm sure, we all have our own stories to tell, but this is her story. But we can share too if you like. Y'all can share some of y'all's experiences. But I'm gonna let y'all talk because there's something I want to kind of interject a little bit later. Go ahead, Bianca and
Well,
Nikki.
I'm just so grateful for you sharing your experience, because I think for me, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'll be 57 this year. So my experience with having three children was totally different, like totally different. Like there was so much, I think, uh traumatic things that happened that I didn't even know how to express within
Mhm.
that my body held on to. Like I remember a situation where I had to, was that before? No, that was before. That was like I probably was still postpartum, yeah, because my youngest wasn't even a year old yet, and I had to leave my apartment because of some issue with my ex-husband and drug dealers. Like it, I mean, stuff was crazy. So, and and just listening to you, it made me think about all those things, and sometimes how as women we would judge ourselves so harshly for not jumping, our bodies not jumping back to what it was. And I think for sometimes us that are in the older generation, we don't even realize how much our body has held on to just different traumatic things. So I think this conversation is so important for women to know and understand and learn how to be present with your body. I feel like and I discussed this with my counselor. I don't like, there is so much grief that I have that I didn't know I had. Grief of motherhood. I felt like I was always in survival mode. So it was like
Oh,
I don't have time. Like I went back, I'm like, I gotta get back to work. I don't have time because he's not gonna do X, Y, and Z. I gotta be able to take care of these kids. So it's these conversations are so helpful to help women to understand that even if you do have to do things maybe you may not want to do, like go back to work really quickly. Like I know someone who went back to work after 4 weeks because she's like, oh, and I gotta have money. So it's, and we don't, like, I think like some more of my generation, like we didn't have time. I think sometimes we just didn't, we felt like we didn't have time. We were in survival mode that we didn't even
hmm
like. I love the way that the millennials and younger generations, I feel like they're really enjoying motherhood and everything that comes in with that. Like you said, you took pictures of yourself. Man, please, I'm like, man, I ain't want none of them pregnancy pictures. And it's just, but we didn't celebrate the process the way it's celebrated now. So I think that's so important. And that's a part of feeling sensual, and which will lead to like how you feel like in your sexuality. For me, it was just like, oh God, here he is. He counting the weeks. It's time for him to get back on top of me. So it's a whole different experience. And it's even good, although that is the past for me, but it's good to recognize exactly what it was for me so that I can let that go and release it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you sharing your story. Trust, I'll let you jump in. I don't want to go on and on, but
That
No,
thank
was
that's
you
okay. I
so
want to.
beautiful,
much.
Bianca. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
It was.
Tresha, were you
Yes.
going to say something? Because I was
No,
going
I
to
want
share.
you to go ahead, hon. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not in the dark. We're in the Lincoln Tunnel, just so y'all know.
That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and talk, Nikki.
I'm in the birth canal. So
Yeah.
right, I'm in the womb, it's literally like we're talking about this. Underwater, right? Because this tunnel is underwater. So I just want to say that that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story, Tasha. The thing that I was thinking about is how I have two children, and I've had them at two different sections in my life, right? I was 24 having my son, and I was 41 having my daughter. And in both of those experiences, I was able to be present. I was in graduate school the first time, I was with his dad. We were engaged to be married. Everything seemed like a perfect, quote unquote, experience. And so I was in my body, present, and I was able to go to yoga and all the things that, you want to do when you're having a baby, be present and trust that this journey is going to be great. Well, 7 weeks after the baby was born, I was a single mom, and his dad decided he didn't want to do any of that. And I had to be with the postpartum on my own. My mother wasn't with the shits. It was like, come on, get over it. What are you talking about? You're crying. What do you mean you feel sad? You gotta get back together. And so it
Mm.
was this uh, pain. I mean, and again, I was left, to be the mother, with this kid. I didn't plan on being a single parent. I didn't plan on being back in my mom's home. And so that wasn't the plan. So you talk about the trauma, the disappointment, all of that. But yet I had my youth and my ego to hold on to because I was still slim trim and all cutesy wootsy. Got to 40 and had a baby, what they call a geriatric pregnancy. Hello, first of all, that already makes you feel like a piece of crap to come and have a baby when you got a label that associates you with a senior citizen. And so here I am, a senior, right, having a baby, still thinking I'm very young in my mind, but I'm not with the parent of the child. Yet I felt empowered in my body. I thought that what I was going to have the second time is what I had the first time, which was body snap back. Oh, hell no, not at 41. Snap back where? I'm still snapping back. The girl's 10, she's going to be 11. I'm wondering when the snap is happening. And what I got from those experiences, and I was in deep postpartum. I had postpartum for a good 6 or 7 years. And
Oh,
no one tells you that it could last that long,
postpartum
and
blues.
girl,
Okay,
depression.
that's
It wasn't no blues, honey. It
okay.
was deep.
Depression. Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure, right?
Yeah, it was depression.
Okay.
And so what I got though, what I set up before having the baby the second time was what I call a community baby. And so I got to be in community with my sadness and be held up and be amplified
Oh,
and be
that's beautiful.
held by
Oh,
everyone
it's
in my
beautiful.
world who could love me and take the baby when I felt like there's no way I can do this shit. And I definitely can't do this shit on my own. And so that was the wisdom, right? The wisdom of being woman at 40 something having a baby. Had I set it up like that the first time, geez, the experience would have been so much warmer. But I think I used that first experience to guide me the second time around. Like, we're not going to repeat the cycle of sadness without support. And so I feel like I was always able to stay sensual, right, in the body of who I was, because that part of me had been there for so long that I was now able to just keep being that, embracing it from a place of power.
Wow, this is so beautiful and so many layers. Like, I'm listening to Bianca, and when Bianca kind of teared up, I could find myself tearing up because I just love all y'all so much. And then Nikki, you gave us such a different level, because one thing we didn't really talk about a whole lot, and that could be another show, depression. I know what depression is. Like, I remember one time, one of the things I think that finally took me out of depression was, and I don't, and this was maybe 10 years ago, was one of my good friends said to me, "This is it. You wait until like something changes, like you're gonna live. This is your life. This is part of your experience, but it's still your life." I'm like, oh my God, I think that really helped. And it helped me to try to navigate depression a little bit much better than I had been doing. Um, but one thing about me, I remember growing up. So, and because I had a lot of rage, and I was, I've been looking at stuff around rage, and they said it's just unprocessed grief. It's unprocessed grief. And I had so much rage that by the time I had my children, and I had also, we talked about this yesterday, I grew up in a household where there was just so much domestic violence. Like, I mean, it just got violent. And then I married into a relationship where my ex-husband was physically abusive, and that stopped when my brother came in. Like, one day, you guys get the picture. But the emotional and mental abuse never did. So I had all of this. And so what was happening with me, I told myself, I was like, I will not treat my children, and I will not let them happen what happened to me. So I shut my emotions down. I didn't understand that my emotions were my friend, that if I had known how to channel that anger, a lot of shit that happened would not have been able to happen. But because I shut my emotions down, it also disconnected me a lot from my senses. So I remember one day, doing a program that I had done a couple years ago. About every 2 years, I'll bring it out, and I asked my children, and I asked my nieces and my nephews, like, how do you see me back then? And one of them said, "You was just like a piece of furniture. There was nothing about you that stood out when we came to your house." But also, that told me I was definitely disconnected from my senses. The only thing I knew was anger, sadness, and on occasion what we call happiness. But that was just horrible. And I brought that up because all of that impacts us, and we don't really understand it. And now here I am, 62. Bianca talk about, I think she's about to be 58 or 57, 58. Here I am at 62, and just starting to grasp. I told somebody, I said, I think I was about 54 when it finally hit me. I want to live. Like, I want to live. And when I say I want I want to live where I'm alive, not just coming home every day from work, working out, because I always worked out, took care of my children when they got grown, took care of myself, those kind of things. But that was it. It was like, that was just it. It was like, but there's so much more. And I felt like I wanted to be like authentically living, like expressing myself in such ways. And just, there was so much that I felt like I had missed out on. And I think that all of this is about the senses, and it's all about our body, and it's all about being connected or disconnected. And so, like, having children for me was like a lot different from you all. Like, my body snapped back. Like, my mother-in-law used to say, and she's deceased now, she used to say, "You are like a cat having kittens. You drop them and you're gone." Like, my body always came back. I really never had that kind of issue. But I will say this in honesty. I think, women sometimes women have children, and we keep having children, because I had 6 children, and I had my oldest son, and then I had the twins. And then, and I had 6 children, and they were all back to back, except the last one was 2 years apart. But there was a tubal pregnancy in there. There was a miscarriage in there, and there was even a couple of abortions in there. So you get it. Like, I'm just going to share the story because the story hopefully helps somebody else. And so for other people, they wanted some women have wanted children because they wanted somebody to love them. I didn't have my children because I wanted somebody to love me. I wanted somebody to love. I felt like that was, and there is a major difference between wanting somebody to love you and you wanting somebody to love. And so, um, I feel like though I wasn't ready, because when you do things out of trauma, you're often not ready. And I wasn't ready, but eventually we grow up and we start to do things. And I can see myself in all the stages that Tasha talked about, maiden, motherhood, and crone. I can see where I failed, flopped, where now I feel like I'm more in my crone stage because the wisdom that I need, not just because of the age, but the wisdom that I need. And another thing that I just wanted to say that I absolutely love about this whole experience is we're helping women that's coming behind us. But we're also giving these women that's our age, like Bianca talked about, top, it's permission now. Release it. Or maybe
Yes.
they didn't even understand what they were even going through. Like they're still holding on to all this grief and don't have any idea what they're grieving for. But this is an opportunity for them to look. And then Tasha, she gave us this experience, like, I just love it. I keep thinking about this graveyard because I love to go to graveyards. But it is a good experience where you can go there and you can just release and release and release. And when you release, begin to call in that moment what you want, because the world is, the universe don't live in a vacuum. And when it don't, because it don't live in a vacuum, something will replace itself. So we have to make sure that what we release, we always calling something back in. So I guess that was just kind of where I wanted to go, because there is so much that we could be, and we're getting to the, a little bit over the hour, and I don't want to keep us. Another thing, Tasha, I just really want to say, it's a beautiful thing. Even Nikki talked about it. She had community. Your community was your husband. Nikki said her community was the women, that came in. And so that's why I love sisterhood. That's why I do the work that I do here. I remember years ago when I started to finally just come out. One of the things I started to come out before I turned 54. So the coming out and the doing things I did took me to age 54 to finally I realized I want more. But I'm just grateful because sisterhood, we need each other. Whether women really believe that or not, I feel like I know I did,
For
and I still
sure.
do.
Absolutely. Trust, I don't know if you see the comment, but Latoya would like to make a comment, I believe.
Oh no, I don't. I can't see the comment.
That's
Okay.
why I muted myself, just to let you know. Artist that said she didn't have a comment, but Latoya did. So I think,
Tell her to
you know,
go ahead. Yes,
yes,
thank you, because
unmute
I
yourself,
can't see the
Latoya.
comments. Go ahead.
You're muted,
Can you
Latoya.
hear me?
You can hear you now. Hey.
And y'all, I'm sorry. Let me say this real quick. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone and I can't see the comments. My computer wouldn't work today. So thank you, ladies, for jumping in and letting me know. Go ahead.
No problem, no problem. So this is my lazy Sunday, so I'm still in pajamas and stuff.
That's
But
okay.
I want to thank you all for sharing your stories, because I definitely needed to be here today. At this time, just going through some things with my kids and just kind of looking back, and like what you shared, Bianca, about maybe not being in the best relationships, having the children, and that was definitely my story. Um, but it's like, okay, I want to be the best mother I can be, and be there for them. But here recently, I'm just like, maybe some of these things I did kind of are backfiring, because, like my daughter, she's 20, and she's recently been experiencing dating and stuff like that, and I'm here for her and talk to her and stuff. But I kept telling her to, look, you need to be back in the house by 12 o'clock a.m. And she repeatedly chose not to, and I'm like, look, I'm not gonna, you can't keep disrespecting my house, you know not paying bills, not, not paying any rent. I wasn't charging her or anything, but just not being responsible and respecting my rules of the house. So she decided to move with her aunt. I'm like, okay, that's fine if that's what you feel like you need to do. Um, but I'm just looking at it like, I guess I am taking a little bit of a personal offense to it because I'm like, I'm your mother. I've always been here for you. Like we just before this happened, we had a conversation about this particular person. And, she also agreed that she was confused, didn't know what was going on. But I'm like, okay, well, why would you disrespect your home for that? But then it might be still other things going on that I'm not aware of. So I'm like, okay, well, let that go. But then also too, dealing with something with my son, helping him to get back and forth to work. And I'm like, look, okay, you gotta repay the money for the Ubers that I got for you. Because I'm like, why would it cost me for you having a job? And he's very, was like, no, I'm not repaying the money. And I'm like, yes, you are. You're gonna need me before I need you. But it's just like, no, why y'all gonna be disrespectful to me? So, like, I've been in my own emotional things from that, and then stressor, like you shared, with the, like, I've definitely been feeling like this anger. I had a session with Erica the other day, and she confirmed it was like this anger simmering, and you know, I'm not a like a rageful person, but I feel it. And I'm like, there's this anger inside. I'm like, I want to release it in a healthy way. So, emotionally crying and stuff like that. But it's like, you know, I don't want to feel disrespected, one, but it's like, I know I'm in a time where things are changing. So I wanted to tell you all thank you. And, just trying to see how to navigate myself through this.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Anybody want to say anything before I make a comment? Nikki,
Uh, I
Bianca.
I think Nikki had to get off. She said, "Have a great day, everyone."
Okay.
Man, I relate on some levels to this because I went through like major challenges with I went through some challenges with my older two because I was younger. I was in survivor mode, so I'm not tapped into to my intuition, to my feelings, to my energy. So I know I made a lot of mistakes and they moved out really early. And I come from, that Gen X, okay, you don't want to live by my house, my rules, you go ahead on. And I let them go. Um, and I mean, when I look back on that, I just, sometimes I wish I don't think I feel like I would have wanted them to stay. I just wish that the conversations could have been different, between like my oldest and my middle daughter. Like I made some mistakes, but it's like, but again, it's okay because, I think too, we have to honor, I feel like I have to honor where I was back then,
Yeah.
regardless whatever knowledge I did or did not. I did the best that I knew how with the knowledge and the wisdom that I had at that point. And that means just forgiving myself for any mistakes that I made. Um, but it doesn't mean that I don't grieve like what the relationships could have been sometimes. So,
Mhm.
but even with that, I'm learning that okay, I acknowledge what it was, what I'm feeling now, and how to kind of move forward in the relationships with my children because all of them are they're grown now. My youngest still lives with me, and they will say that she's spoiled, and she is because I had more money to do different things that I didn't have when the older two were there. And then also, I have a different I have more wisdom. So then when you have that, you have more wisdom and you have a kind of a minute to kind of look at things like, oh, I could have done this differently. So yeah, I mean, I get it about the stand out. I had kids that will run away. So I get it. I get it, girl. I get it. Like the police knew my name. I'll tell you this real quick. So I'm hanging out with my girls, my sister friends. We get pulled over because the plates weren't good. And then he's like, well, she can't drive because her license expired. He's like, which one of y'all got a good license? And I was like, oh, I got one. They put the flashlight back there and they say, Bianca? I said, God damn. That's how often listen, I had things going on, and it made me, and I had to, and I can joke about it now, but I was like, God, dog, the police know my face, my name. I even had one try to holler at me. I was like, boy, get out of my house. I'm sitting here going through it, and you trying to holler. But yeah, so it's like we just move in the knowledge that we have, and
Yeah.
sometimes like our kids, we want them to be there, but we have to let them move out, and the brother man don't want to pay the what you call this, he better, like you said, and not, it's like, dude, you may need me for an Uber ride again, but trust and believe you won't be, you gonna be tapped out of that account. And that's, it's,
That's the
it's
thing.
boundaries. It's even boundaries with
Yeah,
our kids,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
biggest thing. Yeah,
and being okay with those boundaries. Because sometimes you feel
yeah.
like, oh my God, but I don't want them out late, blah, blah, blah. Hey, he chose not to pay you back. So it's, I get
Mhm.
it. That's all I want to share. But thank you
Yeah.
for sharing, Latoya.
Mhm. Thank you.
yes. And behind Bianca, boundaries are very important. I think that some like grief is often, unprocessed rage, but also rage is often the anger that we turn on ourselves. And then
Mm.
so you kind of in both processes, you got
Mhm.
to, you don't have to do anything, but kind of where I see you is like right now, there's some changes. And so like you almost resisting the changes that you got to make because now you got to stand on your word and set your boundaries because otherwise your children will not respect you and they will not understand what
Mhm.
if you tell them one thing and you do something else, you've not
Right,
only betrayed your word to them, you betrayed your word to yourself. And I
right.
know my daughter, when she was in college, I used to have some of the same rules, like be here by 12. I think I said one or whatever. They was in college. And I
Mhm.
remember one time she told me a story. She was flying around the corner. She got stopped by the police. She's like, look, son, please, please, please. She's like, I got to get home. My mom said, if I'm not home by this time, I cannot come in till after this time. And so, but prior to that experience, she tried me and she got really whatever. And I sent her to stay with her dad. And she stayed there for 2 or 3 weeks or less and came back home. And I ain't had no more problems with that situation. But I get it because sometimes we want to be friends with our children. And then sometimes it's not about being friends. We just want better for them, but sometimes we just have to let them find their way. You talk
Yeah,
about angry. My twins were so angry with me. They were so angry with me. And when they went to college, they were about 2.5 hours away. And I would drive up there quite often to school for them and whatever they needed. And so, I'm almost embarrassed to tell this. I mean, we have a much better relationship now, but back then I had to definitely put in some boundaries. My kids would tell you until Dolores, she used to Lex to the last, when she got turned about 16, they were like, dang, you're not taking prisoners because they just they didn't walk over their dad, but they did me because I didn't have it in me to, like, I'm trying to survive, trying to get through whatever. And
mhm.
it was just kind of how it was. And I remember going up to where the twins stayed, and they would be just so mean, just very, very mean. And one of the things that I did, I wrote them a letter and I sent them a letter. And I said, if somebody, I don't remember all the letter, but this is one part I do remember. I said, if somebody smack you and say they're sorry, it does not take away the sting. I said, so y'all have went through a lot of trauma. And I didn't use the word back then because I didn't know what it was. But I said, you guys have went through a lot with all that has happened. I was like, and I apologize. And I know that that doesn't take away what you've gone through. I was like, but I give y'all permission to take your time and find your way.
Right.
Um, but so that I feel like that started their process because the girls started going to therapy in school. Now, ironically, Sonia, who was a therapist, would a counselor, she couldn't go. So Dolores and Tanya would go, and they would all come back and talk, and then they would process like that. However, it was still a lot of stuff that we still throughout time because there was times that they would remind me of how I wasn't this and that. Not just them, but now I'm talking about the girls. My sons didn't really give me that kind of flack, but I think because they have a different way of looking at me, but I had to remind them I still understood I wasn't the best parent. I had to
Mhm.
tell them that I still understood that. But my daughters let me know. And I had to finally come and make it plain. I have apologized so many times. I'm done. I'm not apologizing ever again for who I was and what I was capable of giving and doing back then. Now you guys got to work it out.
Mhm.
Um, because you can't beat yourself up. If you beat yourself up, they see it and they take advantage of it. And
Mhm.
you find yourself, they get older and older, and you still trying to make things, I won't say make things right. You're trying to fix things that you just, it is what it was. You're just a different woman now. And
Mhm.
so as you embrace the differences that you have now, eventually they will. And it's okay if they think somebody else is gonna, it's unfortunate because we don't want that for our children, but at the same time, girl, you're gonna get to a place you be like, "Ooh, this piece feels so good." Ooh, like you be like, "Oh, the
And I
same."
think,
Go ahead, Bianca.
yeah, and I think too, you also, part of parenting, you get to that point where your kids are growing and evolving and changing, and they have to figure that stuff out for themselves. And then we're trying to figure it out together. So it's like my mom
Mhm.
would say, like, this is my first time being a parent of a 20-year-old. So I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And a
Mhm.
first time being a 20-year-old of you. So it's like a new and fresh experience, and we're all trying to figure it out. And it's like, and I think sometimes we have to, I feel like I've had to let go and let them figure it out and not try
Yeah.
to push them into what I want them to do or
Yeah.
how I want them to be. And then too, and even in that, and not blaming myself for shaming myself from them not being a certain way and not
Right.
comparing them with other people's kids and all the stuff that we do sometimes. So it's like releasing all of that as a parent, and it's like, no, they're fine, and this is the
Mhm.
road they've chosen, and I may not agree with it, but I honor who they are. It's their
Right.
Right.
choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to
Thank you
tie
for that.
all of Yeah,
Mm.
excuse me, real quick, and to tie all of that into back, how even though we're not talking about postpartum per se anymore, but still the sensuality part of it, because here's the thing, as long as we're caught up in um these real intense emotions, feeling, that's part of it. But there's so much more than just getting locked in anger and grief and those type
Mhm.
of things, because then that's the part of us that can, like Tasha talked about, derail our body, throw us off,
Mhm.
because we are um the negative part causes so much stress.
Mhm.
So like beginning to tap into your senses and your intuition is part, like the highest sense that we can have, and be guided to what to do and how to do, even if it feels like dang, and it scares you, because you have to let them find their way and things like that, and understanding yourself. So
Yeah.
with that, I just want to say you're doing a good job. We just have to be stick to our word. And when we're wrong, we can say, well, maybe I could have done it differently, but mhm.
We're always gonna be wrong sometimes or another. As long as we on here,
Yeah.
right, wrong. So it's all good. But
Well,
we
let's say
are.
that I don't really like the word
Oh,
wrong, so I shouldn't use that word.
oh,
But I would say this, Bianca. I know what you mean, but let's say we may not have made the highest choice for that situation,
right, right.
because everything ultimately can work out for our highest good, but maybe not the ultimate best choice, especially when we in moments, and we in our feelings of, I could have been a better mother. What
Mhm.
if I do this? How they gonna feel? How other people gonna think? Like Bianca talked about, what our kid, comparing our kids to other people's kids. Um, you don't even know. We don't know people's stories, and we don't know what their kids. They may look one way, and it could be
Mhm.
terror in that house. It could be a
Mhm.
Yeah.
lot going on. So
Mhm.
rather than trying to just being present to the moment of what we're experiencing in the household that we're raising.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you guys so much. This has been amazing.
Yes.
Thank
Tressa,
Go
you.
ahead.
we're almost at an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't know if we want to wrap up. Does anyone else have any other comments?
Well, let's see if anyone has any comments. Let's see if Tasha want to say anything at the end, and then yeah, we can just, I definitely want Tasha to tell who she is and where she could be found. So, Audrey, did you want to say anything? Maybe
Earlier,
not.
Audra said no, she didn't have any questions yet.
Okay. So I want to give her that opportunity.
I just want to say thank you. I came in late, so I didn't get to hear everybody's stories. I missed some stuff, but the stuff I was able to hear, I relate to. My kids aren't as old as everybody else's kids. My oldest is 11, and I'm teaching her. Like you were saying, people don't know what someone else is going through. So I'm literally teaching her that now because she come home and she talk about certain people, and I have to explain to her like you don't know. Y'all in school, so that's a different part of who you are. But when you come home, you're not the same person that you are at school, and that's the same thing with everybody else. So I appreciate this conversation, and I got some gems out of here. Not comparing your kids, because I sometimes do that, trying to get them to do something that I want them to do. I may be like, such and such does this, so you should.
Don't do that. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I'm working. After hearing that, I'm like, I gotta. I'm gonna do. I'm done. I'm done.
Thanks, Autras.
Yes, and this will be it's going to be recorded, so you can find it on the YouTube channel. You also can find it on my Facebook, and also if anybody wants to grab it and post it to their Facebook page, they can.
Okay.
Tasha, do you want to say anything, any closing words, and also tell everybody where you can be found?
Yeah, I wanted to say like I love what everyone shared, and like we were talking about the triple goddess energy. I'm like, wow, we really hit like all of that. So I thought that was beautiful. I saw parts of my story and Nikki's. I know she's gone now, and Bianca's as well. And I'm just grateful. And even with you ladies sharing the things about older kids, I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm learning, and I just love it. I'm really glad that I'm here and I'm able to not only share my story but also to hear y'all's stories. Like I really appreciate that. You can find me on Instagram right now under my handle is home womb honey. I'm on Facebook as well, with my name, my full name, Tasha Manuel Jones. I'm also on Instagram though. My website is being worked on, so that's not available yet. But I do have a group called the Honey Coven where we focus on womb healing and getting back to your essential self. And I have like a ton of things that I do in there. But yeah, that's where I'm at these days. My Instagram is pretty. I have everything pretty much set up. I have like a broadcast channel on there where I send updates to my followers who join, just so y'all can keep up with everything that I'm doing. I'm grateful that I came on here, and this has been a really vulnerable weekend for me. Like I'm not even gonna lie, I've shared a lot of stuff, and just like I said, hearing y'all stories really helped me, and I feel like it's like filling the gaps for me. So yeah, thank you so much, ladies.
All right. Thank you so much, Tasha. Yeah, you have given a lot of energy this week. So give yourself some extra love today
Yeah.
and this week. Yes. So my name is Bianca Thompson. So I am an HR professional for over 25 years, and I co-wrote a book with a lovely group of women that can be found on my website, and it's Fabulous by Intention, all one word.com. So you can find me there. Also, I'm on Facebook as Bianca McAtee Thompson because I named my first daughter Bianca Thompson. So she's Bianca Thompson. I'm Bianca McAtee Thompson on Facebook. And then on Instagram, I believe it's fabulous.by.intention. So that's how you can find me. But again, thank you, ladies, so much.
And I am Tressa. Um, Finally Naked is named after my first book. I realized I was writing poems, and about a year later, it dawned on me that whole year I was releasing trauma and things like that. And so I thought this would be a good way to celebrate women and who have come through, who are transparent, who are willing to do the work, who've done the work, and maybe they're not totally 100% all the way over to the other side, but they have put in so much that they just had some radical changes, which leads me to the name of my company, Radical Transformation with T. But many of you know me under the work that I do, Transformative Conversations and Solutions, and transformativeconversationsand solutions.com. Also, centrallyempoweredwoman.com. You can also find me on Facebook, um, IG, I think Centrally Empowered Woman, and Transformative Conversations with His Sisters, also on Facebook. It's a group that I have. Y'all, I'm trying to remember all of this. Look, like, I'm trying to get it together. But with that, I want to say thank you today. I've been in a space of women where I feel safe, always safe. And that's what I want for all other women, to have a community of where they can always feel safe, where we can share our stories, tell our stories, and honor each other in our stories, because I'm a reflection of you and you're a reflection of me. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. Have an amazing day. And Tasha is also my lovely VA assistant. That is not she's got an even better title, but I'm learning that too. So Tasha, you want to tell them where they can find the YouTube for this?
Yeah, so the YouTube is under Sensually Empowered. You can put the @ symbol Sensually Empowered Woman and it should pop right up. We put all the replays for these talks as well as transformative conversations. It has a separate category. You can find them there. I'm also Tressa's techie person, so I'm gonna actually help
Yeah.
her post the replay. So make sure that you guys are on her mailing list.
We
um,
appreciate you so much.
thank you. Because we usually send the replays, everyone on her mailing list, they get everything first before the public does. So if you join her mailing list, I'm going to send out the replays for everything. But if you're already subscribed to her YouTube channel, you'll see it anyway. So be sure to do that. Tressa, you did very well.
Thank you. I was trying to remember everything. So, one of these, I try not to talk too much, but one of the things I think about me being so transparent is I feel like it does help somebody. Because like I said, I'm 62. So there's a lot of women that came up with this: don't tell, don't talk, don't ask, pretend like you know. And so I just, and I find that a lot of the women probably are in their late 30s to up that really, and the medium is probably somewhere between 45 and 50, that really kind of follow me. And I just want to give us all permission to just be not know. Like, it's not okay to not know and not want to do nothing about that, but it's okay to really be honest. I don't know. I need help. I could use you. And we use and help each other. So thank you for saying that. Whoever said I did good, or Tasha, thank you, because I'm learning. And I am very proud of myself. That's the thing.
I'm proud of you too, sis.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm proud of myself. So, but thanks, Audris, and thank you, Latoya and Nikki and Bianca and Tasha and everybody that'll come after, even someone who may have been on Facebook that did not, do anything. When I say do anything, did not post a question and that kind of thing. Know that you still can. If you have a question, you can send it to one of us. Just highlight our name under the comments, whoever you would like to answer, respond to that question. And it's been a beautiful morning. Thank you all, and we'll see you here next month. The topic, well, let me just, I'll post the topic. I have something in mind, but this show, Finally Naked, is the third Sunday of every month. And Conversations with the Sister is the third Saturday of every month. If you all did not hear that conversation yesterday on domestic violence, we had four beautiful souls talking about their journey. Two of them were men. We had so many angles of understanding domestic violence and all these things. It will also be at the YouTube channel. Have a nice day.
Bye. Love y'all.
Bye, everybody.
I mean, it.